everyone, my name is Chelsea and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we have my 30 in 30 wrap up. So I did a September wrap up a little bit earlier. I'll link it down below in case you did not see it. That had everything that was not manga that I read in September. I participated in the 30 in 30 manga challenge, which is hosted by Shay from Shay Geeks Out, Isabel from Happy for Now, and Ashley from Realm of Comics. And I went above and beyond. I read over 30 volumes of manga, even though that is technically the goal, is to read 30 volumes of manga in the month. Yeah, I went above and beyond. So today is going to be the stats and wrap up for all of the manga I read in September, and we have quite a few of it, so we're gonna jump right on in. If you did not see the September video, you will have missed the fact that I read 53 things in September, and that actually totaled an 11,140 pages. We're gonna be splitting everything out so that the first wrap up that I did had all of the books, short story collections, and nonfiction that I read. We're gonna be talking about the stats that are just for manga now. So out of those 53 books that I read, 45 of them were manga. I read like 1.5 volumes a day, technically. Some days were more, some days were less. I read almost 1 volume a day. I had a couple days that I only ended up reading like half a volume, and then I did not read anything the very last day of the month, and that was because I didn't have any continuations that I was reading. I would have had to start like a completely new manga series. Maybe not like completely new, but like nothing that I was currently reading in the month, and so I took 1 day off. Moving into the pages that I read 9,004 pages that were manga. I almost read 10,000 pages of manga, so like I was curious if I was going to hit over 10,000, and like obviously with the other things that I read in the month, I did, but I probably could have fit in a few more things if I really tried and gotten over 10,000. That would have been a little bit ridiculous, but that would have been fun. For the genre of manga, I read across 5 different genres. 24 of them were contemporary, 11 of them were romance. I do feel like they could go back or forth a little bit because some of the books are shelved like on Goodreads and stuff as romance, but I didn't think were as focused on the romance as maybe like just like normal life, so I put them in contemporary instead. We also had 7 horror, 2 fantasy, and 1 magical realism, so a pretty wide range. Then if we go into how I got the books, so when I say I read 45 volumes of manga, this should mean that a lot of manga is off of my TBR, and like yes, there is. However, not as many as it could have been, because 22 of the volumes that I read, I actually borrowed from my library. Yeah, I tried a lot of things that I might not have tried without this. I had 11 from my owned TBR, so those ones were coming off of my TBR. 3 of them are things that I bought actually this year, so those technically also came off the TBR. 2 of them were arcs, and then 7 of them were actually rereads for me. Things that I've read in the past, but I wanted to reread to get to other things this year. So actually not too bad. A lot of things are brand new to me. I did get 14 books off of my TBR, which is great. It could have been better, but it's fine. Then for the age category, 28 volumes I categorized as adult. 6 of them were new adult and 11 were young adult. So actually, I think pretty normal for me. Sometimes I do feel like I read a lot more young adult manga, and I read a lot of things that I definitely would classify as adult this time. And then let's get into the star rating. So the average for my rating of manga for this month was 4.24, which is quite high compared to like my average of the books that I read in September, or even my average of everything that I've read in the entire year. I definitely feel like manga is on a different sort of star rating scale for me. Like I'm not going to be as critical of certain things, probably because manga is a little bit quicker to read. However, I also do feel like because it has the visualization of it, like it's not just words on a page, there's a different vibe with it. And so sometimes if I can't follow from point A to point B because you're trying to move too fast and the pictures are not helping me out, the illustrations aren't helping me, it could get a lower rating quicker too. So let's see, we had 1 2.5, which was my lowest of the month, 5 3 stars, 4 3.5 stars, 15 4 stars, 1 4.5 star, and 19 5-star reads. So yes, most of them were 4 or 5 stars, which is great. That means I had a really good reading month. But I want to say also the 2.5 that I gave out is one of the lowest ratings total for this year besides like DNFs. I didn't DNF any manga. So yeah. That is a lot of stuff that I read. We're going to break it up by series because I read a lot of things in series. So like, we're not necessarily going to be talking about like 45 individual things. We're going to break it down by series. So that'll make it a little bit easier for us. So let's do that. So the first series that I'm going to talk about, we're just going to actually do this alphabetically because it was the easiest way to do it, is Blood on the Tracks by Shuzo Oshimi. I read 6 volumes of Blood on the Tracks. I read volumes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. This is something that I'm obviously considering an adult series, and it is something that I have seen basically, I think every single host of the 30 and 30 Manga Challenge talk about at one point or another. I have always been very curious about this series because not a lot of people talk about what it is about. It is shelved as like psychological horror on Goodreads, and there is a very like ominous vibe throughout this entire series. It is about a boy who I think is like late middle school, early high school. I don't remember exactly what grade he's in. And his mother, and like things are really not normal and not good, and like I said, the vibe is very sinister at points. These books are actually very, very quick to read because there's not necessarily a ton of like dialogue and stuff on page. It is very much a vibe stored of manga. I will say that I gave volumes 1 through 5 4 stars each. I gave volume 6 a 3 star because I didn't feel like we got the progression of the story as much. I'm still very curious about this one. I do not think it is something that I necessarily want to own on my shelves, so it is something that I will be continuing to read through my library. I just actually went to the library yesterday. They did not have any more in this series because I just dropped off like volumes 4, 5, and 6 for this one, and they only had like 1, 2, and 3 on the shelves. So I have seen further ones in the series. I've only been getting them like 3 volumes at a time. I do want to continue. It is very sinister, very dark, very weird. I have no idea where we're going with things. Some things are also just like very uncomfortable. I would say psychological horror is definitely a good genre for this. Okay, the next series that I read was Given by Natsuki Kizu. I reread volumes 1 and 2 so that I could continue on, and so I read for the first time volumes 3 and 4. I actually own, I think, volumes 5 and 6, and I will tell you right now, I've decided to DNF this series. I can't remember the first time I read Given, at least 2-3 years ago for the first 2 volumes, and I want to say I gave the first couple volumes like maybe a 4, and I think it said a 5 for volume 2. I have changed my tune with this. I read them, reread them this time obviously, and I gave volume 1 a 3, I gave volume 2 a 3.5, so those were definitely lower than what they were previously. I gave volume 3 a 3, and I gave volume 4 a 2.5. That is my lowest rating here. These are boys love manga, and I will credit it with saying that these are not as dark as some of the other boys love type of ones, and I do want to specify boys love because you will get male romance and things like that, but I have found personally that sometimes when you're reading something specifically labeled as boys love, you get into a very questionable consent type of situation. Sometimes they are very sexually explicit, but in a very uncomfortable way for me, and we did not have that through much of this series until we got to book 4, and then we did have some very questionable content, rapey type of stuff, and I did not like that. One of the reasons I don't think I want to push past that, I don't know if it gets better or not, is This is also a like music focused one. There are boys in a band. 2 of them are in high school and 2 of them are in grad school, college, that kind of stuff. So there is an age gap, but like the people that are supposed to be like the couples and things, they're like high school, college, college. It's not weird in an age gap way, because sometimes you get that as well. But I think because it's a music base, this one does not have enough on page for me to like really get into the characters and get into everything that I'm reading for this. Like, they are going by too quickly and not giving us enough detail. And so because of that, I'm left feeling like I wanted more from it. Volume 2 I do think got a little bit better because we got a little bit more explanation for things. And then again, like I said, Volume 3 I went back to a 3-star because it was just sort of mediocre with character relationships and characterization. And I will say this also does deal with like grief and knowing that a loved one committed suicide previously. Like, it's not on page, but it is very much talked about quite a bit. And so like all the romance and stuff that I would want to be at the forefront of this was just sort of rushed into. And once the like rape sort of thing happened in book 4, I just don't think I can like these characters and continue with it, because like I didn't get enough information about them to like them before that kind of stuff happened. These have very, very high ratings, and I don't know exactly why. Maybe it is because like up until that point these were more like non-explicit, and like I said, those are sometimes rare to find in the boys love manga world. But yeah, this is I think the lowest rated series that I'm going to be talking about right now. So yeah, I'm going to be DNFing the series and getting rid of these books eventually when I do an unhaul. The next series that I want to talk about is I Hear the Sunspot by Yuki Fumino. These are male romance, new adults, coming of age, like living your life type of things that I absolutely love. So I actually reread 1 through 5, and that was so I could read volume 6 and come at it with like not necessarily new eyes, but it had been forever since I've read these, and so I just like, I love them so much, I decided I did need to do a reread. Volume 1 is my lowest rated of the series. I give this consistently a 4-star. I think I've read this like 3 times now. It's not bad. It's just setting up for the rest of the series in a way that like it could have been a little bit better, but like I'm not mad at it. It introduces our characters and the fact that one of them is hard of hearing, and so like that is sort of like how they come together. This other boy is going to be taking his notes in exchange for boxed lunches, and like it's just like a really nice sort of like friendship based one, and it's a good foundation. I will say the art style of this one, not my favorite. You can definitely tell that Yuki Fumino has increased in like art potential and all that kind of stuff. Art style has gotten a lot cleaner and everything as we go through the series, but I really do enjoy this series. So then after that first one, we have volume 2, which is Theory of Happiness. This is an interesting series because it does have sort of like different character and story arcs. So like this volume 1 could be a standalone if you really wanted it to, and then volume 2 could be like another standalone sort of thing of their life. You don't necessarily need like to read the rest of the series if you don't want to, but I do really like this one. They're college aged, it's new adult, it's figuring out yourself, and you know, one of the boys is hard of hearing and figuring out their relationship and things like that. And then after that we have volumes 3, 4, and 5, which is actually Limit 1, Limit 2, and Limit 3. This one is sort of like a trilogy where you're gonna want to read them all behind each other because of the fact that we do have sort of like cliffhangers in between each one and things that make you have like, it's heart-wrenching. Like, you get all the emotions with this because of the fact that like they're trying to figure out their life. In this part of the series, one of the boys is going off to like work more, so they're not both in college anymore. I'm just really loving the sort of like slice of life aspect of it, as well as figuring out the romance and like things like that. Like, this is what I want. I want all of the characterization and everything like that. And then the new one that I read is volume 6, or it is 4 Seasons volume 1, because now we're starting a new story arc. And let me tell you, I had just as much fun with this one. I gave it a 5 stars. So like volume 1 I give 4, everything else I've given 5. I just absolutely love it because again, we're really getting into what life looks like after college and all that kind of stuff, and dealing with medical things because of the hard of hearing. Like, I love them so much. It did end on a little bit of a cliffhanger because of the fact that we are going into a new story arc. We've also been introduced to more characters throughout, especially I think during the Limit story arc series, and those characters are still in it here. Some of them are actually also hard of hearing or deaf, and so like I really like the sort of friendship, found family aspects as well. Like, this is just one of my favorite manga series, and so yeah. The next series that I read is Insomniacs After School by Makoto Ojiro. This one I read because it was a recommendation from Ashley at Realm of Comics. One of the challenges, and we'll get through the challenges as well near the end, was to read a host rec, and I wanted to read one recommendation from every single host. And so this one was Ashley's. I actually read Insomniacs After School Volume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and when I was at the library yesterday they had volume 7, so I picked that up as well. I gave every single volume of this series 5 stars. I absolutely love this one. I love the art style, I love the characters, I love just sort of the way that like the friendships and everything are coming together. This is about 2 teens who both have insomnia for different reasons, and when you get into those reasons in further volumes in the series. And so when they find out that the school has like an observatory that has not been used and that it's a good nap spot, they go up there, get discovered by a teacher, and the teacher allows them to restart the astronomy club. And so they're sort of coming together with like club activities and how do we, you know, nap here and make it a legitimate club. And then they have like the friendship and the coming of age. We're getting a little bit of romance in there, but really I'm just loving these sort of characters, and again, sort of slice of life. I consider this one more of a contemporary, even though it does have a little bit of like potential romantic elements in it. I am so curious to see where the rest of this series is gonna go. It looks like, I think we're up to volume 7 coming out in the US so far, maybe volume 8, I could be mistaken, but like the vibes of it were just like so cozy and perfect. Like, I just really love this one. Again, super quick and easy to read, and it was just like so heartwarming every single volume. Like, I need more of it. Like, I just absolutely love this one, so it was a perfect recommendation. The next series we have here is My Love Mix-Up Volume 8 and Volume 9 by Wataru Hinakure. So this, I finished the series. I could have reread the first 7 volumes of the series. I didn't. I read them last year, so I felt like I had a good grasp of everything. And I gave both of these 5 stars. I absolutely love this one. This is another male-male romance. This one is set in high school, and it is very much a love mix-up. We start with this boy finding an eraser from the other boy in the series because it has his name on it, and he is under the impression that this other boy has a crush on him, even though he borrowed the eraser from someone else who was a girl, and things go from there. We do have like a blossoming romantic relationship. I really love the fact that it is a very nice, like, figuring out yourself, coming of age, figuring out your sexual identity, and being very romantic with it, as well as having friends in the classroom and like what do these friendships look like in the future. I will say volume 9 almost gave me like a little bit of a heart attack with things going on, but it still came together perfectly because I was like, this is the last volume, are you really gonna do that to me? It was worth it. I absolutely love this series. I love the art style. I love the fact that not this boy, but the other one is sometimes very over the top, reminds me a little bit of like Tamaki from Ouran High School Host Club, and so the art style reflects that. Like, it's a very super cute art style, and then he goes off the rails and it's a very ugly, weird art style, and it's just like, it fits amazingly that way. Like, I just love that dynamic. And so yeah, this is one of my favorite series as well. I love this one, and I finished out the series finally. The next manga that I read was Orange to You Dear One by Ichigo Takano. This is the final volume. And I say it like that because I feel like we had 2 omnibus editions of Orange a few years ago, and that was supposed to be everything. And then we had an extra book called Orange Future that was supposed to be like the final volume a couple years ago, and then this one came out last year as the, again, final volume. I did not reread Orange, although I could have, because I gave every single book in this series 5 stars, including this one. But yeah, I absolutely love this series. The original part of the series delves into a sort of like sci-fi time travel magical realism-ish type of thing. It is relating to the fact that this group of friends is trying to save a different friend from dying by the end of high school, and that is also in relation to like depression and suicide and things like that. This was an epilogue that really, I think, came together very well. I really loved it, and it delved into all of the characters in the series, and it definitely talked a lot about depression and grief and things like that. Like, I just definitely think this was a good ending to the series, although I was fine with the other endings we had as well. But this is one of my favorite series as well, so yeah. The next series I want to talk about is going to be Perfect World by Rie Aruga. This, I read volumes 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, and I only own up through volume 6. So the 7 through 12 I borrowed from my library. This is another one that could be considered romance, but I considered it contemporary for a lot of it because, especially in the volumes that I ended up reading this time, volumes 4 and 5 and a little bit of going into volume 6 has our main couple broken up, and a lot of it is sort of depressing, and so yeah, things that I did not necessarily want. We do eventually get into the more romance side of things, and eventually I did give the ending of the series a very high rating, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's a romance series. It is definitely dealing with lots of hard topics. Let's dive into my ratings really quick so you guys can like sort of see how I was feeling about this. I gave volume 4 a 3-star, and everything that I read before volume 4, so 1, 2, and 3, I gave a 4-star. So it was never like a perfect 5-star read for me, but I gave volume 4 a 3-star because our couples are very much broken up, and I just did not like some of the characters that were in here, specifically a character named Nagasawa who had some uncomfortable bits in, I think it was book 3 of this series from what I remember previously. She is a caregiver to the man that is in the wheelchair. She definitely oversteps bounds sometimes, and because of that I was very uncomfortable with her, and then she is around in the series way too long, so that is something. Volume 5 I gave 4 stars, volume 6 I gave 4 stars, for volume 7 I gave 4 stars, volume 8 I gave 4 stars, volume 9 I gave 4 stars. Are we seeing a pattern here? Good, but not great. Volume 10, I gave a 4.5, and then I did give volumes 11 and 12 5 stars. That is because we finally got characters together around volume 9, volume 10, and was like leaning actually into the romance, building a life together, things like that. Things that I was hoping for from the beginning with this series. So besides the romance involvement and some characters that I didn't like, I do want to mention that this is a series where our man is in a wheelchair. We do meet other wheelchair users throughout the series, which I really did love. And it's a very stark look at what this means. Our author wrote this because of the fact that her mother at one point, I don't know exactly when, how long it was, but ended up using a wheelchair, I think because of the same sort of paralyzation that we have in this story with our main guy character. And so our author was coming at this from a caretaker's point of view, because she had to help caretake with her mother and things like that. And so there are some points in here that are very good, I feel like, with the characters together, and like, what does this mean for a romance, and what does this mean for friends, and what does this mean for family. But it also can get into the very much darker side and health toll side and things like that. And so it's not just like a happy romance type of thing. It is very hard to read in parts. I would be very curious to see people that do have disabilities in this way, what they would think of it, because I knew going in that this was a caretaker's point of view more than an actual disabled person. And it does, like I said, get dark in some parts. I much preferred it near the end when it wasn't as dark. It was more happy, more hopeful, more romance, that kind of stuff. So just keep that in mind. The next book that I want to talk about is PTSD Radio Volume 2. This is the omnibus edition, so it actually is volumes 3 and 4, and this is by Masaki Nakayama. This is a horror, and I gave this one a 3-star. I gave volume 1, the omnibus for volume 1, a 4-star, so again, not perfect. And this is horror. Volume 1 deals a lot with hair, and we do have that a little bit in here. I was hoping for more answers. I don't know how long this series is. I know there's an omnibus for volume 3, maybe an omnibus for volume 4, but so I was hoping for more, and especially in volume 1 and in this one, we get everything that's going on in very small snippets, like only 2, 3, 4, 5 pages at a time. And because of how it came together in volume 1, because I wasn't too sure I liked it until near the end, I was hoping for more in this one, but we still have no explanation for anything. None of the short stories really felt more connected than they did in volume 1. Like, I was just hoping to build on what volume 1 had more. I'm still curious about this, but again, if I can get it from my library, I think I might go that route versus purchasing volume 3, just because it is horror. The art style is very creepy, but I'm not too sure how much I want to read of this without getting more actual explanations. The next series that we have here is She Loves to Cook and She Loves to Eat. This is by Sakaomi Uzaki. I read volumes 1, 2, and 3. This one was a recommendation from Isabel from Happy for Now, and I want to say that a series like this is actually the reason that I usually try to get at least 2, 3, 4 volumes of manga a try before I decide that I don't like it or I want a DNF or anything like that, because I gave volume 1 a 3.5, I gave volume 2 a 4, and I gave volume 3 a 5 stars. I am officially addicted and need more in this series. This is a sapphic series with adult, full-grown women who, one of them loves to cook, and she's not the biggest eater, so she really loves cooking big things and like fantastic meals and things like that, but like she can't really do that when it's just her, because she won't eat it all. And the other woman loves to eat. This does have a reason in the books that you get into later, and I really love the way that they talk about like their different home lives and like why they are the way that they are, but it's also never a bad thing of why one loves to eat so much and really appreciates food versus the other person really liking to cook more but is not necessarily somebody who eats a lot. I thought the first volume did an amazing job with getting the characters introduced and introducing the food and the cooking, and like they look gorgeous. The food looks amazing. It makes me so hungry every single volume, but I gave it a 3.5 because I just wanted something more from it. And then, like I said, volume 2 I gave a 4, volume 3 I gave a 5. I think the reason I ended up giving volume 3 a 5 is that it actually delves into more of the actual sapphic relationship type of stuff. We're definitely getting into more of who the characters are as people, not just about how they feel about food. I like that we introduced some more characters as well into the series. So we have like some more friends and another person who lives in the building the same as them. And I just really love that aspect. I will say, I think it's volume 3 deals a little bit with like maybe anorexia or at least a disordered look at food as well. So it's not just the like happiness of food, but I'm really invested in these characters now, and so again, a great recommendation. I was so glad that I picked it up. The next one that I want to talk about is Sheltering Eaves Volume 1 by Rie Aruga. This is the same author as Perfect World, and this was actually an arc. So I read this before it came out. I think it actually is not coming out until the middle of November, so keep that in mind. I gave it a 4 star. I think it was a very solid start to this series, and again, this is a series that is going to deal with some hard topics. So Perfect World was dealing with disabilities. Sheltering Eaves is dealing with like a foster group home setting in Japan. It is not set in 2020 something, it's set in 2010 something, I want to say. And it's dealing with more of like high school aged kids. I'm curious if this is going to end up being a romance or more of just like a family type of thing, but it is dealing with being sort of dropped off at the group home because your family is not so good, or you know, things like that. I got very invested with this. Again, it's a 4 because it's like not 100% like a 5-star read for me, but I am very curious to see where this is going to go. And it has Rie Aruga's art style and everything, which I do really love, so I was very excited to read this one. The next one I want to talk about is The Ancient Magus's Bride, Volume 1 by Korei Yamazaki. This one was a recommendation from Shay Geeks Out. And I only picked up volume 1 for this, and I need opinions from people, so if you have read this, let me know. I gave volume 1 a 3.5. I am very curious about the magic system, which we got a little bit about, but not like a ton. I am having a hard time with the fact that this is the ancient Magus's bride, and they do intend on this girl being the bride of this Magus, who looks like a huge monster type of thing. That is not my big deal. My big thing is that I don't know exactly how old he is, and he's obviously some sort of adult, and this girl is 15. So the underage age gap type of thing is where I'm having a hard time with it. And I will say it did not seem to be the biggest issue in this book. There is a couple little things that made me uncomfortable with the knowledge that she is intended to not just be like an apprentice but a bride, but also she's 15. She's a kid. So I'm curious about this one. And again, like I mentioned before, I do like to give manga series 2-3 volumes at least, but if this is something that is still intended to be in the series, I don't know if it's something that I would necessarily want to read. I can obviously get it from my library, but I'm curious of other people's opinions. The next one that we have here is the Spellbook Library Volume 1 by Uta Izaki. This one was another arc. This one I believe is coming out beginning to middle-ish of October. I don't know if it's out yet or not. And I gave it a 3.5 because again, curious about it, but wasn't 100% my thing. I thought it was going to be because it is about a spellbook library. All of the spellbooks in this library have like magical creatures in them. Like they use the spellbook to like capture bad magical creatures and things. It starts off very silly though, like too silly for me. Like the characters are so over the top and there's a little bit of fan service and like, I don't know, it's just something that I'm like, I'm curious again about the magic system and how things would go from here, but I don't think I necessarily know anything about the characters. One of the characters at least is supposed to be very mysterious, but the other ones are just, they feel like caricatures and I just don't know how I feel about it. This one was an arc, so again, it's gonna take a while for volume 2 to come out. I might again look it up at the library before I do anything else with it. But if you're looking for like a magical library, people go off and fight beasts and things, and you're okay with very sort of silly characters, you're probably gonna really like this one. And then we're actually on the last set of volumes to talk about. The last thing that I read was Tokyo Tarareba Girls by Akiko Hikishimura. I read volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, and volume 4. So this is the same author as Princess Jellyfish, which I have not fully finished. I considered doing it for the 30 and 30, but I really would have needed to reread a lot. And so instead I decided to start Tokyo Tarareba Girls. I've had this on my TBR for a while, and I gave the first 2 volumes 4 stars, and the second 2 volumes 5 stars. I was a little bit, I'm not entirely too sure if this is going to be as amazing as some of the other work that Akiko Hikishimura has done, but by volume 3 and 4 I was hooked. This follows 30-year-old women in Tokyo trying to figure out their love lives and things, and they don't really have love lives, and it's very much like a group of 30-year-old women and like their friendships that come first, and I absolutely loved that. There is an excess of alcohol in here. They seem to only ever go to bars and get drunk and talk about their problems, but I really liked them as characters and how they come together and the relationships that they have. We also have a couple instances of the relationships that they're having that are harder topics. Again, I wasn't entirely too sure how to feel because at the end of volume 1 we have one of those like sort of, hey, if you sleep with me, you'll get ahead in your job type of situations. And I do think they talk about it enough in the further volumes that it's not as bad, or at least it doesn't make me feel as bad as I did when I first read that in volume 1, because like sexual harassment, that kind of stuff, not so great. We also have another character who is in a relationship with a married man, so we do have harder topics and messy things going on, but I'm really here for the women's friendship. And so yeah, I am hooked. My library does not have any more copies of this, and I definitely need to get the rest of them and continue. The only reason I was saying I'm sad because my library didn't have copies is one of the challenges that we had for the 30 and 30 was not to buy any manga this month, and I didn't. But I do want to continue and finish this series, so I need to figure out how many books are in this series first of all, and then get my hands on them. And so those are all of the volumes that I read during 30 and 30. That was 45 of them. But this month for 30 and 30, we did have challenges. And I have never sat down and actually figured out how many challenges I completed. And so I want to just sort of read through them quickly. And like, let's just take a look and see how well I did or not. The first one was to read at least one volume every day. I did not do that because, like I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, I did not read anything the last day of the month. I could have read something instead I did this. However, there were 2 other days where I only read like part of a manga volume and finished it the next day. So number 2, start a new series that has been sitting on your TBR. Definitely did that with like Tokyo Tarareba Girls. Finish a series that you've been meaning to finish. Definitely did that with Perfect Worlds. Read an omnibus. I did that with PTSD Radio. Read a manga with fall colors on the cover. I read quite a few that had like red, orange, brown, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to say I definitely did that. Read a manga without humans on the cover. Are there any manga without humans on the cover? I mean, maybe some paranormal ones, but I feel like every single thing that I own that is manga that I have read has a human on the cover. So I did not do that. Read 10 volumes in the same series. I read 9 volumes of Perfect Worlds, and I read Sheltering Eaves, and so that's 10 volumes by the same author, but I did not read from the same series. Number 8, read from 10 different series. I think I definitely did that. Oh yeah, 100%. Read an anticipated volume. That was going to be Sheltering Eaves. I requested that as an ARC because I was very curious about more from the author of Perfect Worlds. Number 10, read a volume with water on the cover. I mean, they're over a bridge with water. I'm going to say that counts. That was water. Read from a favorite series. I Hear the Sunspot, 100% a favorite series, or even My Love Mix-Up. Read a series not based in Japan. I want to say almost everything. Was everything based in Japan? Oh my gosh, did I actually read everything based in Japan? I think I did. I think I did. I mean, I've definitely read things previously, or no. Spellbook Library. That's a fantasy. That's not based in Japan. Ha 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 ha. Continue a series that you have multiple volumes on your TBR. I did do that as well. Read a fantasy series. Again, Spellbook Library, I'm going to say. I am doubling up. I don't care. Read a contemporary. Yes, definitely did that. Read a series with a romance plot. Definitely did that. Read a series with a mystery plot. I want to say Blood on the Tracks could be a mystery plot. Read from an action adventure series. I want to say the Spellbook Library and Ancient Magus Bride could be there, but I don't think they're there yet, so no. Read a volume with flora on the cover, like foliage, flowers. One of the books of I Hear the Sunspot has trees and grass. Ooh, maybe even cherry blossoms on the back. So that counts. Read a hardcover manga. I did not read any hardcover this time. Read a manga recommended by a host. I did one for all of you guys. Don't buy any new manga for 30 days. Got that. Read 60 volumes. I did not do that. Read 30 volumes from your physical TBR. I did not do that. Read a volume with only one person on the cover. I mean, yes, one of the My Love Mix-Up only has one person on the cover. Post a photo of your favorite read from the challenge. I did not do that. That's bad. I'm getting really bad at not posting on my Bookstagram so much. I'm sorry, guys. Write at least 5 reviews for the manga. I actually did do that. Read a volume with a white background. I have that. Read the most recent volume you bought. I did do that. Every single volume that I bought in 2024 has been read by now, actually, so that's great. Read the oldest volume on your TBR. I did not do that, sorry. Read the oldest published volume on your TBR. I actually don't think I did that either. Get current on a series. I have done that, yes. Read a volume from a manga app or service. I did not do that. Read a manga with your favorite color on the cover. I did actually do that. Blue is my favorite color, and one of the given volumes is blue. Read a volume outside your house. I did do that as well. We actually went on vacation the last weekend of September, and I brought 3 manga volumes with me so I could read one a day while we were gone, and I actually did do that as well. Read from a series you have or want merch from. I do not think I did that because I don't know what I would want necessarily. Read from a classic or legendary mangaka. The examples they have here, I did not read anything from. Let me know if you could consider any of the ones that I did read a legendary or classic mangaka. Read a volume you are afraid to read. Okay, so that's Blood on the Tracks because I had no idea if I was going to like it or not because I did not know enough about it. Read a volume with a black background. I don't think I had anything that was like actually black. The orange one maybe, but I'm not gonna count that. It was too much other stuff. Read a volume that makes you happy. Okay, I definitely read a volume that makes me happy. And so with those 40 challenges, I got 25. I don't know if that's good or not, but I completed 25 of the challenges for 30 and 30 manga challenge. I also read 45 volumes, so I was very happy with what I read in the month. Let me know if there are any other mangas you think I should read. Just know I'm definitely going to be continuing in a lot of the series that we have here. Some things I'm definitely caught up on now though, so like I might have to wait for a little while, but I had an amazing time. This definitely makes me think that I can add in more manga throughout the year, so I'm not trying to do everything during a 30 and 30, although it's so much fun. But I've been focusing a lot on books this year, and then I moved and was definitely reading a lot more comics, graphic novels, and manga before September, like August. That was mostly what I read. And so it's reminding me that I absolutely love reading these type of books, and so yeah, thank you for joining me for this video. I probably talked at you quite a bit today, and so if you like this, give it a thumbs up to let me know. Subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more videos. I do have videos coming out Tuesdays, Thursdays, and sometimes Saturdays, so I will see you then. Bye!